Plan? Well, it's being billed as a bipartisan approach, which is a complete joke, since its sponsors are amnesty zealot John McCain of Arizona and liberal Delaware Senator Chris Coons. This bill is basically a rerun of the failed Gang of Eight fiasco that flopped out back in 2013. Remember, that legislation was so unpopular that even its original sponsor, Marco Rubio, had to walk it back, and now he considers it a big mistake. So Gang of Eight 2.0 would grant legal status and a path to citizenship to young migrants who came here before 2014. And that is a number that far exceeds the 1.8 million that President Trump was willing to make citizens in his compromise gesture. And there would be no border wall funding, and it would keep chain migration. That entire scam would keep going. So obviously, this is a complete non-starter for the White House, meaning McCain-Coons was a stupid ploy, not a serious plan. Lawmakers who have been shopping various amnesties for years focus most of their empathy and concern on illegal immigrants who fear deportation, not on Americans whose lives have been devastated by illegal immigrant crime. President Trump, however, hasn't forgotten those people, and today he focused on closing immigration loopholes to keep groups like MS-13 out of our country. As for the Democrats refusing to come to the table, Trump's willing to play hardball.
If we don't change the legislation, if we don't get rid of these loopholes where killers are allowed to come into our country and continue to kill gang members, and we're just talking about MS-13, there are many gang members that we don't even mention. If we don't change it, let's have a shutdown. We'll do a shutdown, and it's worth it for our country. I'd love to see a shutdown if we don't get this stuff taken care of.
The left is going crazy because he said that. But that's how much he cares about the country. He cares about our safety, the rule of law. The president knows that the people are with him on this issue. When you look at the poll numbers, Americans want sensible immigration reforms along with maybe curing the DACA problem, okay. Here's a recent Harvard-Harris poll. It found that 65% of voters agreed that any bill granting legal status to Dreamers should be accompanied by funding for a wall, an end to chain migration, as well as an end to the visa lottery system. 53% supported building a border wall consisting of physical and electronic barriers. And a whopping 79% wanted immigration to be based on merit, not on family connections or other factors. Well, I'm assuming neither senator from Arizona bothered to consider the new comprehensive study by economist John Lott, who will join us later in the show. Professor Lott basically looked at all the illegals who entered the Arizona state prison system from the years 1985 through 2017. That's 33 years of data. And what did he find? He says illegals were at least 142% more likely to be convicted of a crime than other Arizonans. He found their sentences were 10.5% longer than U.S. citizens due to the severity of their crimes. He found that illegals were 163% more likely to be convicted of first-degree murder than U.S. citizens, 168% more likely to be convicted of second-degree murder, 189.6% more likely to be convicted of manslaughter. Illegals were much more likely to commit sexual offenses against minors, sexual assault, DUI, and armed robbery. And 45.4% of illegal immigrants were more likely than other criminals to have been gang members. My goodness. Here's a smattering of how just in the past week, illegals have added to the health and well-being of their communities. On Monday, in Hartford, Connecticut, where I come from, Onel Arana Gervasio, a Mexican illegal, pled guilty to being part of a heroin ring that extended to Alabama, in Connecticut, Rhode Island, Ohio, and guess what? He's a boomerang visitor. He was already deported back in 2013. Then there's this charmer, Salvador Gomez Lopez of Montgomery County, Maryland, right nearby where I'm broadcasting from. The Salvadoran illegal was urinating in public, lovely, when a bystander tried to convince him to pull up his pants. and find a bathroom. Instead, Gomez pulled a box cutter out and started slashing at the poor man's throat. There's a lot of gashes there now. Last week, 3 dreamers were arrested in 3 different smuggling cases. All were DACA recipients. They were smuggling human beings. 2 were nabbed in California and 1 in Arizona. And this is a heartbreaker. 5 days ago in Rio Vista, Texas, a young mother of 2, Jennifer Smith, on her way to pick up her kids at school, was killed in a horrific car crash by illegal immigrant Candido Martinez Ramirez, 32 years old. He was drunk. And this past Sunday, many of you have heard, Indiana Colts linebacker Edwin Jackson and his Uber driver were killed by an illegal, intoxicated alien. 37-year-old Manuel Orrego Salvala, the DOJ announcing in just the last hour that they will bring federal charges against the Guatemalan, proving once again that Jeff Sessions, his attorney general, and his DOJ are moving quickly to right the wrongs of the past when it comes to illegal crime going unpunished. No more. Sessions is right. This has to stop. Look at these cases. There's just a few. It's just the last week. We could do a whole show on this. When you really start to think about it, it's total insanity. We have enough problems in our country with drugs, the opioid epidemic, alcohol, criminal activity. We sure do not need any more. And yes, of course, all illegal immigrants are not criminals, but frankly, that's not the point. Because that's of little comfort to Jennifer Smith's sons, or Edwin Jackson's mother, or the thousands of Americans whose names you do not know, whose lives will never be the same again because our government was unwilling or unable to enforce our laws. And that's the angle.